Hey everyone. So we are doing Odyssey Notes number 3 today. Okay, so get that in front of you. Make sure that one's in front of you. This is what it looks like for me. Yes, mine says summary of books 12 through 18, but that's just the books of the Odyssey. We're doing our Odyssey Notes number 3. So this is after we read the Sirens. This is after Scylla and Charybdis. So it says, after encountering the merciless sea monsters Scylla and Charybdis, Odysseus's crew reached the island of the sun. Okay, do we know whose island this is? Do you guys know? Do you guys remember who the sun god is? Sun god is Helios. Okay, so Eurylochus, who is second in command next to Odysseus, he is next to Odysseus in command, insisted that the crew rested. So Odysseus made the 10 men, while they decided to rest, he made them swear an oath to not eat or harm any of the cattle. Because do you guys remember back when we were in Land of the Dead, Tiresias told Odysseus, you should not eat any of Helios's cattle. Do not eat them. Okay, do you guys remember doing that in the graphic novel? So he made them swear an oath to not eat or harm any of the cattle, but they were trapped on that island for an entire month by an inopportune wind. So that wind kept them from moving in the direction they needed to go back home to Ithaca. So eventually, their stores ran out, and the men began to starve. One day, Odysseus decides he's sleepy. He's going to take a nap. He falls asleep. And then this guy, Eurylochus, remember the one second in command, convinced the men to eat the cattle of the sun god. Okay? His reasoning was that it's better to die at sea from the wrath of the gods than to die of just plain old hunger. Okay? That was his reasoning, and he convinced all the men to do it. So, Odysseus wakes up. He finds out that his men had broken all of their oaths and they had killed/eaten some of those cattle. Okay? Now, the sun god Helios angrily asks Zeus, remember, god of all gods, and other gods, to punish Odysseus's crew for killing his cattle. So Zeus says, okay, Zeus complied, and he says, I'll promise to do something to punish them in some kind of way, but it'll be once they leave the island, okay? So meanwhile, while the men are still on the island, they continue to feast on those cattle for 6 more days. Okay, so they eat those cattle for 6 days before sailing away. Now, as soon as they get out to sea, Zeus sends down a storm that completely destroys the ship and killed everyone aboard except for our guy, our epic hero, Odysseus, who hung on to some pieces of wood. Okay, that's what he ended up doing to survive. So he has no more ship, no more crew. It's just him now. Okay, so now there is a wind, and that wind is driving him back toward, Charybdis. You guys remember the whirlpool? It's driving him back toward the whirlpool where he just came from, okay? Right when the monster decided to make that whirlpool. And Odysseus hangs onto the branch of a fig tree to save himself. And then after that whirlpool spits out what he made as a raft, he drifts at sea until he reaches Calypso's island. So Calypso's island is where he ends up staying. If you guys remember Odyssey Notes number 1, he was coming from Calypso's island at that point. Okay, so here is where he stops telling the Phaeacians his story. So he stops narrating and telling the Phaeacians all about what he and his crew did with the Lotus Eaters, the Cyclops, Scylla and Charybdis, the Sirens, everything that came before this moment. Okay, he had been narrating that. Do you guys remember? He had been narrating that, telling his story to the Phaeacians. But now we're in the present day. So it says, the next day, young Phaeacian noblemen conduct him home by ship. Okay, so then the goddess, someone appears. Who do you guys think it is? The goddess. The goddess loves Odysseus, if you guys remember. The goddess Athena appears and informs him of the situation at home, how numerous suitors, believing Odysseus to be dead, they've continually been seeking the hand of his wife, Penelope, in marriage. And they're doing so while overrunning his entire palace and enjoying themselves at Penelope's expense. Okay. So, this is happening. Athena just tells Odysseus this is happening at home. Meanwhile, at home, Penelope has devised tricks to delay her suitors, one of which is to be pretending to be weaving a burial shroud for her elderly father, Laertes. Okay, well, father-in-law. This is Odysseus's dad, Laertes. So she pretends to be weaving this burial shroud. Burial shroud is just like kind of a cloth or blanket kind of material that would be put over a, oh shoot, what's the word? A coffin or something like that. Think of a coffin like back in ancient Greece. Okay. So she's pretending to be weaving this burial shroud for Laertes, who is elderly at the moment. So she agrees to finally marry a suitor when she finishes weaving this burial shroud. But her trick is that she weaves it during the day and then unweaves it every night. So Telemachus, Odysseus' son, is still hoping for his father's return. He has journeyed to, do you guys remember these two cities from the first notes? He journeys to Pylos and Sparta to learn what he can about his father's fate, where his dad is, what's up with him. Okay. The suitors are plotting to ambush and murder Telemachus before he can finally inherit his father's land and arrive back into Ithaca. They want to do this, obviously. They want to be the ones to inherit. They want to marry Penelope. They want to take all of the inheritance that is left to Telemachus. So Odysseus finally arrives back to Ithaca, but Athena disguises him as a beggar so the suitors won't kill him on sight. Okay. She directs him to the hut of Eumaeus. Eumaeus is Odysseus's old and faithful swineherd. And also, Athena warns Telemachus of the suitors' plan to ambush him upon his turn to Ithaca. So now Telemachus has a heads up. So he has a heads up. Odysseus is also back in Ithaca, but disguised. So Telemachus arrives in secret and reunites with Odysseus for the first time in how long? 20 years. It's been 20 years. Okay. So that evening, Odysseus, as the beggar, is heavily insulted and harassed by all of the suitors. He's just minding his own business and they keep wanting to pick on him. So the suitors are harassing him and Eumaeus and Telemachus as they're wandering through Ithaca together, just trying to catch Odysseus up to date. So after standing up to the suitors, they find him entertaining and they choose to invite him to the table at which they're eating. Okay. When all of the suitors have gone, I don't know why that word's not in there anymore. When all the suitors have gone, Penelope interrogates the beggar. Okay. She's like, not feeling too good about this random guy who just happened to appear. So the beggar, it's really Odysseus, but disguised. He tells her that Odysseus is still alive and will be home soon. Okay, so Penelope's like, whoa, this is weird. This new guy's here. He knows something about my long lost husband. So with this news and the pressure from all the suitors, Penelope says this new thing. She says that she will marry the man who can string Odysseus's bow and shoot an arrow through 12 axe handle sockets. Okay. Now, this might be a little weird for you to visualize. So, what I did, I found this, I think it's right here. Yeah. So this is a production company. You have probably seen it before at the start of some movies. It's a pretty big one. But this is Odysseus. And if you notice, he has Penelope standing at his left. Okay, this is what it would look like to shoot an arrow through 12 axe handle sockets. Okay, I'm going to play this. You see that? Sorry, interrupted it. Okay, I'll play it one more time actually. Cool. So you've probably seen that. It's a pretty popular production company. Anywho, so that's what it would look like. That is her challenge to the suitors. She said, anyone who can string my husband's bow and shoot an arrow through 12 axe handle sockets, I will marry. Okay. So all of these suitors attempt the challenge. Some could not even string the bow. Okay. They couldn't even get step one down, let alone shoot the arrow through all 12 sockets. Okay. No one could shoot the arrow through all 12 sockets. But now, still in disguise, Odysseus, as the beggar, asks for a turn. Okay, so this is where we're going to pick up. The next thing we're reading is the challenge. This is the challenge to string the bow and shoot that arrow through 12 axe handle sockets. So we'll see what Odysseus does. Okay. All right.